Hi everyone, NUSensei here. Today we're going to be talking about target. Target panic. Target panic is a phenomenon in shooting sports such as archery and shooting. In other sports it can be called yips. It's basically the feeling where you know you should be able to do something effortlessly, but for whatever reason you just can't do it. And in a psychological context, it can be roughly understood to mean that the execution of your process is triggered by a different stimulus. So let's look at some ways in which you might recognize whether you, or more importantly someone else, might be experiencing target panic. That big target on the right, 3 meters, that's no problem. Yep, perfect, 10 out of 10. Execution was good flow, very happy with that. Nice, right in the middle. Yep, good grouping, very happy with that. Okay, let's try some of the smaller targets. Haven't shot the bug's eyes before. I'm going to be a bit more precise with aiming at these. Alright. Up. Oh, yep. Let go by accident. Don't know what happened there. Let's try the second one. Okay, that was okay. I'll do the last one now. And basically, if you're shooting at something with absolutely no stress, you shoot perfectly fine. Once you start trying to hit something that's challenging, you suddenly can't hit the broadside of a barn. Not exaggerating, by the way. I mean, if you take a look at this, for example, in theory, if I can group within the gold of a big target, I should be able to at least get arrows on this face. But by replacing the targets, people will often freak out and miss this target completely, even though they're more than capable of getting arrows on the target face. And look, there are many other symptoms and signs of target panic, and this can and does affect every kind of shooter. And it gets to the point where some people simply quit the sport because they can't overcome this psychological barrier. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I do make a distinction between clicker panic and target panic. Clicker panic applies to people who use clickers, namely target shooters or Olympic shooters, where your process is controlled by the clicker, and if you can't control that process, it gets very tricky to shoot adequately. Target panic is motivated by different things. It can be a clicker, but it's not necessarily the clicker. So we'll talk about a few different factors, and of course, how you can address this. There are a couple of factors which can contribute significantly to target panic, and the result is often a premature release. You let go without meaning to let go before you're ready, and therefore you're not on target, and you have a very erratic shot pattern because you have no control of the process. The first factor is a visual stimulus. So by looking at the target, that can put you off your game. Now, we said before, on the larger target face, there might be a zero stress shot because you can know you can make it 100% of the time. But once you start swapping targets out to smaller targets or more distant targets, for many people, this shouldn't be a hard target at 20, 30 meters. And yet, the fact that you're looking at something so small, a tiny gold spot, you start overthinking that process. You start paying more attention to your sight or your gap or your string alignment, and you either hold on too long and you lose the process, or you shoot too quickly as soon as it looks like it's near that string picture which you've memorized. And that's one of the factors. That's the visual stimulus. You shoot or you don't shoot when you should shoot when you visually recognize something and it triggers your shot or it delays your shot. Another possible stimulus is a physical trigger. This tends to happen, I've noticed, to people who use heavier draw weights, because the feeling of the bow pulling back on you kind of prompts you to let go, even though it's not when you should let go. And let me demonstrate. So normally when you shoot, you go through the whole shot process, you feel your back muscles stretching, expanding, and then you execute the shot. It's something like this. So you anchor, stretch, have a nice, clean, powerful shot. Feels wonderful. Now, here's where some people get literally triggered by the physical stimulus. Now again, with the heavier draw weights, this tends to be more apparent. So because we are already kind of mentally messed up and we can't focus on target, we're basically going by feel. And again, instinctive shooters might be more susceptible to this. When we're on target, we draw, but once we get to a certain point in the power stroke or the draw force curve, we go, whoop, I'm tense, I'm gonna let go. So it might be something like this, draw, and then, whoa, okay, I felt that a tension in the muscles, and I just let go because that's what it should feel like. And I go, well, okay, that's not quite what it should be. So let's try that one again. We'll try and reach a full draw this time. All right, so you're not gonna panic, we'll calm down. Let's go for the target. We'll go for the small one over here. So look at the target, and then, I didn't anchor. I'm not sure what happened there. And so on. This repeats because instead of being controlled or controlling your process, you're being dictated by a certain feeling in your body, whether it's a certain alignment of your shoulders or a certain amount of expansion. You didn't get the correct process or the correct technique because you can't remember what it feels like. And again, the sudden difficulty of pulling the bow back at full draw might prompt the release. And probably a more realistic demonstration is this thing. You'll see a lot of novice shooters do this. And again. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that instead of having a tight anchor and expanding and controlling the process all the way through to release and follow through, I'm letting go as soon as I get to here. There's no aiming, there's no thought process, it's basically in, let go. And that too can be a sign of or contribute to target panic. So what steps can we take to mitigate the effects of target panic and address the problems? The first thing, and perhaps the hardest thing, is to acknowledge and recognize that you have a problem. This applies to a lot of things in life, but target panic is something which a lot of us try to push through with a lot of bravado. And the thing is that it doesn't necessarily solve itself. And this is particularly important if you are in the mindset of competing and scoring. It might be you're trying to get ranking points or set a personal best, or you're trying to prepare for a tournament, so you're trying to score and measure up against a score. And that can contribute significantly to target panic, because now you're chasing a point value and you're trying to aim as precisely as possible when it just falls apart. If you recognize that this is not just a bad shot, or a bad end or a bad day, but this is a chronic problem that for several sessions or a week or several weeks you just can't do it anymore, then remedial action. Okay, stop scoring. If you're in the middle of a round and you recognize this is only going to get worse, just stop. It's not going to make it better anyway. You're not going to salvage anything. You may as well address the problem while you're still in the zone. So stop scoring. That means if you're doing a round with your club, just stop doing it. Just retire and just address the problem. Otherwise, you'll make it worse. Go from a scoring mindset or a practice mindset and move on to a training mindset or a remedial training mindset. But it's no longer about points and scores and personal bests, and more about addressing the fundamentals of your form. The next thing you can do is remove the target. After all, you can't have target panic if you have no target. No, I'm being serious. Remember what I said before, a visual stimulus can be one of the triggers for target panic. And if you're having trouble focusing on the target, remove the target. Now, if you can't do this because you shoot in a club and you can't muck around target faces, then shoot at a gigantic target like the one over here where you can't miss it. But the idea is stop focusing on a tiny dot and just shoot. I know a lot of you might be tempted, oh, there's nothing here. Okay, can I put like a tiny dot or something? No. Get rid of all visual stimuli and just shoot in the general direction of this target. Now, one thing that you really should be doing as a warm-up and a cool-down is blind bell shooting or blind butt shooting. And the point of this is to shoot with your eyes closed. To make it work, you need to be at a distance where you can't miss. I'm like a meter away, so I can't miss this target. So you can look at the target, but when you get the full draw, you close your eyes and you finish the shot. That was a clean shot, by the way, absolutely perfect. I mean, at this point, you might as well call it bird box shooting. Now, I showed all 6 shots there because I wanted to show you the patience and the mindset you need to go through this. I'm not trying to showboat or show off my skills. I'm shooting blind. I'm just 1 meter away. I'm just feeling the shot. By removing all visual stimuli, whether it's a target or basically anything around me, all I focus on is the feeling of the shot. Understand that if you're going through target panic, you are going through a phase of rebuilding. You need to make sure all your fundamentals are right. And this works with a compound, this works with a recurve, but works with Olympic recurve. I shoot Olympic recurve, I have to do this. When I'm having a bad time, I can't get the clicker right, the sight right, forget everything, just pull through, click, shoot. Now, if you're doing this as a warm-up or a cool-down, then you might do 3, 4, 5, 6 ends of like 3 or 6 arrows, whatever. Just do it until you feel comfortable. That way you can start your session or finish your session with the right feeling. If you're doing this as a remedial activity, then do it for as long as you feel you need to. Don't skip on this. If you feel that you don't quite have to shut down, then keep on doing this. If you do go back to shooting with your eyes open at a target and you find yourself reverting to certain physical tics or cues or habits, then go back to blind butt shooting. The key is that you need to restore the physical feeling and the confidence that you know how to execute the process. Because when you are distracted or when you're stressed, the entire process breaks down. Not just sighting, not just releasing, but the whole process can fall apart. Let's say I'm trying to hit this one particular spot on the target in front of me, and I try and aim it very carefully, and I'm trying to get everything right, but I can't get the release right now because I'm being triggered by something else. Either that's triggering me or something in my physical process is prematurely releasing the arrow. So what I now have to do is go back to close range, close my eyes, and restore that correct feeling. I was doing this before, and you can't tell someone to focus on the release because it's supposed to be subconscious. So you need to smooth it out and make it subconscious again. So back at short distance, close my eyes on the shot, feel the shot on the way through. And you can be very surprised at how well you shoot in terms of accuracy and the physical process when you shut off that visual distraction. And this is something which a lot of people don't do. Again, archery is about hitting a target. I want to hit bullseyes, I want to get points. You can't do this while also struggling to deal with these chronic problems. The sooner you address the problems, the sooner you can go back to doing what you want. This isn't always fun, but training isn't meant to be fun. It's meant to prepare you. So if you need to fix the problem, do this. If you have to do this for a whole day, you do it for a whole day. but it feels so satisfying because with your eyes closed, all you can feel is the bow in your hand and the string in your fingers. That's what am I thinking of? Go here, I'm on target, not going to miss. So full draw, I can feel my anchor point. I don't know where I'm pointing at, no idea. But I can feel the anchor point. I can feel the tension in my back. I'm going to gently expand. Oh, that feels good. That's a really wrong meme there, but I can feel my shoulders have pulled back in the right position. My string hand has gone behind my neck. I haven't thrown outwards. And this is the feedback loop that you tell yourself. And you can do this a lot. The self-talk helps too, especially if you have someone else like a coach watching you. Use this as a chance to reflect. Yep, that felt great. Didn't rush the shot. Pacing was good, felt the expansion, it was nice and patient, and that's what you do. So once you confirm that you have your physical process fairly smooth, then you can go to your next step, which is the blank butt shooting. We had blind butt before, now it's blank butt. And the point here is we're going to, again, re-familiarize ourselves with shooting with our eyes open. There's no target. I'm just aiming roughly in the middle. You can do this at close distance or middle distance. You don't have to do this at long distance, but you can if you want to, by the way. You might find that shooting 70 meters on a blank target can be quite therapeutic compared to shooting at a big target face at 70 meters. Point being is no specific target spot, just aiming roughly in the middle. And again, you might be surprised how accurate you are, but we're going to go through the same process. This time we are going to look, we are going to aim, but we still got to remember good process. Now I'll be honest, while I am just demonstrating for this tutorial, I am actually feeling a different process. When I closed my eyes, I could feel that things were just coming into place. There was the only thing driving my process was my control of the expansion and the release. Even though I can't miss this target, this distance, I am actually consciously aligning things. And again, these small things are the small contributing factors that can lead to target panic. And in a lot of ways, I need to push these things out. So not worry about aiming, focus on the process. And I'm shooting differently, I can tell. I'm shooting different how I was not without aiming. I'm not expanding correctly. I'm focused too much on where the arrow is landing. And this is where you can diagnose a lot of problems. So let's try and forget that now. And that was a bit better. And you see, even no target. I mean, I'm 3 meters away, but you can still group. You can still shoot quite accurately with no target. Nice. I slowed down, I held it just a bit longer, and I felt the expansion come through. Good, that was clean. Now, if I'm going back to my old ways, that means stop this practice, go back to closing your eyes. Close distance, close your eyes. I felt wonderful. Very clean. You can make a big difference. So if you're doing this with a coach, the coach can help and recognize and diagnose problems. If you're not working with a coach, this is what you should be doing. Seriously, it's actually pretty fun. Just take the target off and just shoot. Don't try to aim, just work on process. And again, you do this for as long as you need to. This might be your whole day of practice. Again, I'm very serious. Like a lot of people go straight back to scoring as soon as they can, and they haven't fully cured themselves of target panic. So they fall back on old habits and the problem persists. You need to work through, power through, and work at all these problems. So let's say I've built a bit more confidence. I want to shoot at a target face now. I'll use an easy target face. Big target face, close distance, again, no stress. By the way, you might find that people at the club or your range might want to shoot a smaller target face. If you feel like you need a bigger target face, feel free to assert yourself. You might not always get your way, but if you need this for your own personal growth and development, then you should. Like, don't try to be gung-ho and shoot tiny targets because everybody else is. If you need to put the training wheels back on, do so. It's for your own good. So again, nice simple process, no stress, just focus on form. And again, aiming can be deceptive. You might over aim, you might think too hard about your gap or your sight, but it's the process which drives the shot. And a lot of this is calming down. You know you can do it. You spent hours or days doing blank and blind shooting. Now it's time to do a bit of target shooting, but for the same process. It's like you know the target isn't there. And you do this as long as you want. You know, once you feel that confidence come back, the comfort zone is rebuilt, up the challenge. Shoot a smaller target, step back further. And that's, again, part of the path to restoring your normal shooting form. Again, target panic is about restoration. So we felt good about that. We can now go back to some of the more difficult targets that we were having trouble with. So we go for the smaller ones, just the sentence this time. I might not get it first time around, but the process is more important than the accuracy. Once you figure out where you're aiming, the process drives it. That's right in the middle. So there was aiming. Didn't feel that the process was very smooth. Could be better, but it wasn't bad. So I'm going to do the same thing, aim the same spot, but this time, feel the shot a bit more. Remind myself what the shot felt like when I was doing the easier shooting or the blind shooting. So remember the feeling. Okay, so I shot a little high, it's deflected upwards, but the feeling was getting better. Losing a bit there. I'm trying a little too hard to aim. So let's not think about it this time. That felt a bit better. Didn't hit where I wanted to, but the shot felt better. And all these small differences are my shoulders expanding correctly? Am I getting the right tension in the right places? Okay, felt a better snap of the shoulders there. Felt much stronger. In fact, the arrow came right clean, straight. Didn't deflect, didn't go off to the side. That was a very straight shot. And probably an 8 out of 10 for that shot. Didn't feel that great. And that's what you do. You start restoring things and rebuilding your confidence and telling yourself and talking to yourself what's working well, what felt different from last time. And if you find yourself going through this and going through the same anxiety, the same target panic that's causing you to shoot poorly and releasing early, reset. Go back to your previous step. Go back to shooting easy targets, or go back to shooting a blank target or closing your eyes. It's all about rebuilding and restoring the foundations upon which you've built your technique. The lesson here is that your process shouldn't change. No matter how big or how far the target is, the way you shoot is going to be the same. If you find your process changing between each target, each distance, or even each end or each shot, then there's something that's going to eventually culminate in a bigger chronic problem. If you find yourself unable to focus on a target, then address the sighting issue. If you can't remember how to get to the clicker correctly, or how to expand correctly, or you're releasing too soon, you might let go as soon as you come to full draw, then you need to remediate these issues. These things are the things you need to address to prevent target panic. Once target panic settles, it's about restoring. So you don't give up. You don't just go, oh, I can't shoot again. You can overcome these things, but it does require a change of mindset, a change of attitude, and a lot of patience and perseverance. If you can overcome this, then every time you go through the same feeling that your shot is being triggered by something else, you can address that stimulus and come back to your normal shooting form. Take the time to do this right, and you can overcome those difficulties. And that's the journey of an archer. Anyway, this is NUSensei. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.